we've been really focusing on Consul cluster construction and operations. We haven't really gotten too far into the capabilities or the things that you would use Consul for. We are getting to that. That will be in a couple weeks. We are still on the operational aspects of it, including but not limited to initial setup, configuration, scaling, and now we've been working on security. So if you want to look at any of the other setups or any of the other things that we've learned in part of the previous streams, we have a YouTube playlist, and you can also find them on this Twitch channel as well. Now, in terms of what we did last time, shall we do a dramatic recap? I always say we were going to do a dramatic recap of what we did the last episode, but it's never as dramatic as I think it is.
Last time on Getting Into Console.
Yes. Last time we encrypted gossip between the agents, and we also encrypted gRPC between the agents. This secures agent communication. We also took the brave leap into turning on access control lists, aka ACLs, aka ACLs, much to Cole's horror. And all of these things will help secure not only the traffic between agents within the cluster, it also secures and ensures that agents are getting the minimal access, so that would be least privilege access within the cluster. So we didn't think about adding in ACLs last time. It was actually pretty impromptu.
Do it.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
We'll just add ACLs in there. ACLs are the ones that often cause quite a bit of heartache. In the console space, it's not that they're necessarily complicated, but it is sort of tricky, right? Because when you're trying to implement least privilege, you end up breaking functionality, and you go through this iterative process of trying to make it work. So today we are going to finish off access control lists. We got to a point last time where we implemented access control and effectively least privilege for for node communication as well as for service communication. But we broke DNS. So we originally set up DNS for service discovery, and we broke that. So now we have to go back and fix it. That is our hope, that we fix that. The other thing that we're going to do today is hopefully talk about access control lists and the policy and rules syntax. I know, Cole, you were like, I know we do stuff with ACLs, but I kind of want more detail on how this works. And so as a result, we're going to demonstrate the access control list rules engine, so to speak, with Consul key value store. So we're going to do that. And if we have time, we may not have time, or we may not have the inclination, because we had some fiddly bits that we didn't quite get organized, and that's securing the Consul cluster with an external CA. We probably won't really do that right now. But anyway, that's kind of a recap of what we're planning to do. What changed, Cole? I know that last time we did some manual setup with ACLs as well as the security stuff. So what did you end up going back to automate more of?
Yeah. An interesting part of this series, for me at least, is after the fact, because we do this all manually. And then I have to go back and say, okay, let's figure out how we can automate this. And with this particular part of the thing, there's an interesting almost chicken and egg problem you encounter, in the sense that you need Consul up before you do things, but to do things, Consul needs to be up. So for example, in our last episode, when we went through it, we used the built-in Consul certificate authority to generate those certificates, right? And then we passed those off we generated ones for the clients. We put those on there as well. Well, automating that in a boot script is difficult, in the sense that if you have 3 servers go up, how do you keep all 3 from doing the same thing if you want them all in an auto-scaling group? Which has led me to an interesting thing where I would love for a way within auto-scaling groups to differentiate between the nodes in them, even though I know that kind of defeats the purpose of an auto-scaling group. It'd still be nice, but I digress. The same thing has sort of taken place with the ACL system. So anyone who's following along in the GitHub repo, as of right now, you will have to do those steps manually, but I'll make sure to have those all laid out. But to talk about the automating of the gossip, key, and the TLS part, which is automated, let me share my screen here, get it up, and All right. Can we see my screen?
We can see your screen.
Yay. So let's talk about the gossip encryption key. All I did to do this was just pulled in the random provider, made a 32 byte length random ID, and passed that in as the gossip key, since that was what is being done under the hood, from my understanding, the console when it generates those, when you generate it through that. So we're just passing that into the user data script. And for all of our different nodes here, that's just something that we set right in our HCL file. So that was super easy, because when we did it live, we had to do the gossip encryption key, but we also had to toggle those encrypt verify incoming outgoing in that rolling update to get that to work. So automating that was very simple. The next part was automating making it so that there's TLS encryption between the console agents. That was a little bit trickier for the reasons that I just mentioned earlier about needing to have the servers live and differentiate between them and pass things. So what I did here is I pulled in the TLS provider. So the TLS provider lets you make these different certificates, and made the root certificate right here, just right up in this TLS file, followed by the server certificates, followed by the client certificates, the different one for the different services, and then ultimately passing those in through our user data and putting them into the user data script and booting them up. Now, with this, just I want to give you some heads up. This goes up, this does work, but there are some problems with it. And the problems are, the first one is that for probably the biggest one is, if we have 3 servers, the problem you're going to encounter with this particular setup is that all 3 servers will be using the same certificate and private key. Not the CA. The CA is fine. That's all good. But they'll all be using the same certificate. All the clients that are for the API will be using a similar certificate for themselves, and the web will all be using one for themselves as well, as opposed to having a unique certificate for every single one of them. I do know that that would be ideal, but in terms of making it easier for someone coming to this project, I went this route so that you could just go ahead and launch it and not have to worry anything about it. So that was kind of the hack there, if that makes sense. Do you have any comment on that, Rosemary?
No, I mean, like I said, for those who are tuning in and looking at this repository, that we have a working repository. I'll put it into the description and everything else. But keep in mind that a lot of these practices, while we're trying to demonstrate as much as we can in sort of the minimal production configuration, a lot of these practices may or may not, as Cole pointed out, may or may not be 100% perfect. So the things that we are doing here are for your benefit, so that you can get started with this repository and it's self-contained.
Yeah. In a perfect world, you would have a unique certificate signed by the CA for every single node that you have live. Doing so is a little bit tricky with auto-scaling groups, to the point to where I think the approach that I almost landed on was having a unique auto-scaling group for every single node and using something like count or for each to make those happen. But it seemed a little heavy-handed for what we're trying to learn and do here. So I stayed away from that. And then beyond that, the ACLs and automating the bootstrapping of ACLs was not something that I had a satisfactory solution for. So as of right now, that's all been reset up manually. But like I've stated in the previous episodes, we do have the manual steps, that manual step-by-steps in the repo. So like here's part 4, where we just go through and you can just do the exact steps to get things up and running. And that is all my spiel there on what has changed.
Excellent. So we've got a lot that changed between both the last stream and now. What didn't change is that DNS is still broken, right, Cole? So like if you go into was it web? Yeah, web.
Hit the load balancer here, we can get web, but suddenly it cannot talk to our API.
Can you increase the font on the browser?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. So it can't communicate because when we enabled access control lists in Consul is like API authorization. As a quick summary, it is controlling service and node access to the Consul interface, right? So some API endpoints, certain nodes or services have access to, while others do not. And what happened is that when we configured access control lists, our DNS interface has broken because it likely doesn't have access to console anymore to make those resolutions. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix that, because this does not help us. If we were running this in production and we were supporting some services, we effectively have broken our services. So now we have to go back and fix it. So what I'm going to do is there's a Learn tutorial for fixing DNS and ACLs. We are going to go through that so that we can, once again, resolve our services. Web communicates with API. Yes.
Cool. So this is stuff we're going to do in the policies themselves.
Yes.
Oh, neat.
We're going to play with policies. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is that we need to establish a policy. So for those who didn't tune in the last time, Consul has policies that are linked to tokens. So the way that the access control list system in Consul works is that you create a policy and then you can create a token that's attached to that policy. So what we are going to do is go and create a Consul ACL policy that allows the nodes, services, and prepared queries to communicate with Consul for DNS. Now, Consul prepared queries. This is the first time I think we're coming to that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll paste a note about the Consul prepared queries, but prepared queries are service queries, basically. So you can use it to get information about a service. That's kind of how the underlying DNS, sort of DNS itself, right? If you combine it with Consul DNS, it gives you more complex information. So if you wanted to get more selective about the kind of service information that you wanted to retrieve, you can add complex queries. You can add prepared queries. I don't believe we are using prepared queries, so we don't need that policy. We have not configured prepared queries as part of this series at all. We don't have a need for it. Like, we don't have any real complex service searches that we need to make. So in terms of, yes, there we are. In terms of the policy, Cole, I don't think we are going to need the prepared queries section. We just need the top two policies.
Gotcha. So I have a question for that, because I just want to understand reading it. And just could we, before I even like put this in here, just go through and just in plain English say like what each of these little bits is doing?
Yeah. So in the ACL system, they have these abstractions, right? So you kind of have this. So you could say, right, allow me to read the service catalog of nodes, of Consul nodes, for example, right? Okay. You can do that by API path. So it would be like what, V1 Consul, V1 V1 catalog nodes. I think that's what it is.
Okay, that's what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So you could have that, and that would, you could specify that kind of access control if you wanted to, right?
Yeah.
However, the ACL system is a layer on top of that just makes it easier to map that kind of policy control to the API. So you would want to use these policies in some ways, because node prefix, right, won't change for you as someone who's configuring Consul. But the API, the underlying API, might change, and in which case you don't have to worry about it. So all of these policy rules map to some corresponding API endpoint in Consul.
Gotcha. And so this node prefix, is this saying then that any endpoint that has to do with nodes that you can read? Is that what that's saying?
Yep.
Yeah. And then this one's saying any service with, regardless of how it is, you can read.
Yep.
Right. And then query prefix, we can come back to that one. But let's say that I wanted to limit our service prefix. Let's say I wanted to say, all right, I only want you to be able to read from the API. Like, how would we put that there?
Well, part of this comes down to like what part of the API. I don't believe there's any kind of escape hatch, if you know what I mean, where you can just say like, oh, you must have this part. You can just read generically from any part of the API. As I recall,
Okay.
it must be one of these very specific rules. So it's either like session
Okay.
prefix. It's always something like something prefix, right? Which is more generic. And then you got service app, which is more specific, right? So you will notice that the ACL system, the ACL rules always have the object structure. And you can either be really specific about the object. That would, I guess, be the equivalent of like a get slash service slash app in this example.
Oh,
Or you
okay.
can say get slash service, which is service prefix, right? So that's give me all the services related to this, this thing, so to speak. So it's more
Okay.
like a service prefix is kind of like a list from an HTTP API kind of perspective. And then the more specific service kind of declaration would be something that's more like a get, a get by ID versus a
Okay.
list.
Gotcha. I
Hmm.
feel like this will be something better done through example. So maybe
Yeah.
let's get the baseline up
Yeah.
first, and then
Yeah.
maybe we can tinker with it.
Yeah, because I don't think there's an escape hatch that you can just say, just lock down this part of the API. Doesn't quite work that way. If you can think about, are you familiar with GCP Identity and Access Management Engine?
I am not.
Okay,
How
AWS
much of it is it
IAM.
like? Okay,
AWS
yeah, I
IAM,
know
for
that.
example, right? AWS IAM, you don't say, I must access V1 slash, or I am going to restrict access to V1 slash blah, 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 right? What
Mhm.
you say is, let me attach an IAM policy that's like, allow read compute instances, right?
Yeah.
Or allowed VM instances or something like that.
Okay.
Or S3 bucket, right? Read from the
Yeah.
S3 bucket, write from the S3 bucket. You don't declare the API specifically.
Okay. Because the identity is assumed on the policy that it's on,
Yeah,
or to the
exactly.
principle that it's attached.
Right.
Okay.
Now,
So
and
when
they
we
don't
hit,
let you configure that, right? I mean,
yeah.
AWS IAM doesn't let you configure, like, you must restrict it to this AWS API specific get only, put only, etc. So,
Yeah, they
yeah.
generalize it more. So
Hmm.
this then, if we were to slap this on the API, uh, well, on the node for the APIs, this then is implicitly talking about the node it's on and the API because it's there.
Yep. So it's the
Okay.
identity. Hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Because I
Yeah.
was reading this as these are generalized across all things, and you would need to what is it? Specify the service in a specific node. Okay. So does this then mean, so we're going to stay at this token for DNS. Does that mean that we need to begin on the API service or web service node?
Yeah, so you probably should start with I would say web. Let's start with web because that's the
Okay.
upstream service. So,
Okay. And
yeah.
we don't need to do anything for the any of the servers,
We should not need anything for
ACLs?
the servers.
Okay. Interesting.
You should apply the token.
Alrighty.
Wait, you should apply the token to the console agent serving DNS requests. So when the DNS server makes a request, it will include the token in the request. It can either authorize or revoke the request. Okay, so yeah, let's try this on web.
Yeah. To
Hmm.
the serving the DNS request. I guess it would be. I guess the API node would be serving DNS requests for the API.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right. But when the
Okay.
DNS server makes a request, it includes the token in the request. Authorize or revoke the request depending on the token's privileges. Token for DNS is the same three-step process you use for agents. Yeah, so I would put it on web first
Okay.
because web has a
Gotcha.
policy already, right? The web client.
Yeah, they all
Yeah.
should.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has the, how do we get that into that here?
Policies?
Just policies. Duh.
Yep.
Um,
Do we not have ACL policies?
maybe I
Did we
need to
configure
refresh
that the
it.
last time?
We did. Did I put it in here?
We did configure. So for those who are checking out and we're like, where is the policies? Last time we configured some specific policies. Oh no.
Okay, so we've got that in there.
Is that the token? That is
Yeah,
that
that's
the global
that.
management token?
No. This is
Oh,
the individual one for the specific for
oh,
the API. Um, I don't recall. I remember us making the tokens, but like so here's the identity for the web and the API. Oh,
oh.
here's where we looked at it. Yeah,
Yeah.
under
We
the
did an
token
inline
itself.
policy. Okay. Yeah, we did an
Yeah,
inline
yeah.
policy. I remember this time. Okay.
Okay.
So we could be,
So
should add. Actually, it has this already, right? Service
yeah, that
prefix,
was
node
yeah.
prefix.
It does. So HCLs then go along with the token. Isn't
Yes.
that how Vault does stuff too?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Okay.
Same, very similar system. Hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense to me. So just for my own understanding, if we were talking about AWS, since I've got to draw an analogy for there, tokens would be like your user, policies would be like the policies that you attach. Okay, perfect. Alrighty, so that means adding the policy I was about to add would be redundant because that is already the one we've got
Yep.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So that's interesting.
yeah.
Let's see what is the DNS request. DNS request. Next, create the token. Apply the console agent serving the DNS request. So do we have this to default? You can use the. Who is serving the DNS request? It is console client, right? That console client there.
That is a good question.
So the service registration has that token, but can you show me the console client?
Yes,
Oh,
by show
sorry.
you the
If
console
you go
client.
to
What do you
the,
mean?
sorry, if you go back to console UI
Yep.
and then you go back to tokens,
Mm-hmm.
can you pull up the node identity for which one is web? I don't
Oh,
remember.
okay. 25538.
Okay. Yeah. So that does not have node prefix policy in there. I think we
Okay.
have to set it on here.
Okay. Gotcha. So just for my understanding, the goal we're trying to accomplish here is getting it so that the web and the API can interact with each other.
Yep.
Now, what is the barrier that's keeping those from interacting with each other? Is it the ACL on the both the first up, is it the ACL on the nodes token, or is it the ACL on the individual services token?
It would be the ACL on the nodes token
Okay.
because it's saying to add it to the DNS server, basically the agent that is serving the DNS request.
Yeah.
And so remember when we set up service discovery the first time, the service looks up the DNS with the console client. Console client then returns that
Ah,
information.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So
Because
we need
yeah,
to add an additional policy to the ACL for the client.
gotcha. For
Mm-hmm.
and for both clients for that matter.
Well, I think we might just be able to get away with doing it just on web because API doesn't look up web. Web looks up API.
Ah, okay. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
perfect. Alrighty. So that would mean how do we speak that here?
Well, if you go back to the ACL rule, it's node prefix and service prefix. We already have a service prefix read, so that means that it's
Yeah.
saying you can read any of the services in the catalog. The node prefix,
Okay.
though, is something that we're missing. We have a very specific node
Ah.
one. We need to be
Ah.
more expansive. We should allow it to look up all nodes.
Okay. Yeah. Because right now it's you can only write to your own node,
Yeah,
and we needed to say,
precisely.
but you can come on, come on. Can I not edit this right here? Why am I under the?
You should be able
Whoa.
to.
Hello.
No. Okay.
Interesting. I guess this is a read-only box.
I suppose it is. That's a UI thing that we are probably going to have to go back
Oh,
to.
wait, here, I could just add a new policy, right?
Yeah. You should probably just create a new policy anyway, because if you say it's just for your own readability, because then you're going
Yeah.
to be like, which ones have DNS access? And then you can look up that
Yeah.
policy really quickly.
Yeah. Why don't we just Is it okay if we do it in the
Yeah.
UI here?
Yeah, of
Okay,
course.
yeah. All right,
It should be fine.
so let's call this policy, what's a good name here?
DNS. I think it was the DNS requests.
DNS
Yeah.
requests.
Or you could do DNS.
And then that is it.
I would add the service prefix as well, just because if any future ACL, any future node or service identities need access to DNS, then you already have it configured.
Gotcha. And let's say that another ACE token has this rule in here. They won't, okay. Yeah, they won't. Why am I
They'll be
failing
fine.
to find the correct words for that? They won't step on each other's toes. There we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
All
But
right,
I think
let's
it will
try
always
this.
choose the minimum, like sort of the minimum privs versus the max. No, it will choose the maximum privileges, I think. But don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Interesting. Huh. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and do
Or
this.
maybe minimum. I don't know for sure. Anyway. Yeah, I think that's all you
Okay.
need for now. We can test it out later.
Okay. So we have created and applied. And here is this one.
Yep.
So when you add a new policy to a token for that agent, does it have to be restarted or will it just pick up on those permissions?
I believe we'll have to pick it up.
Okay. So this does not seem to be.
Yeah, I think sorry. I believe you'll have to save at the bottom. If you scroll down. Save.
Oh, I didn't save.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe we'll see here. No.
You may have to reload the client, but
actually it should just stay here, right?
Yep. Oh, set agent token, ACL set agent token default DNS token.
Does the UI not do that for us? Because it looks like it's applied here.
Yeah, go back to the guide. Well, what you're doing is setting the default token. Same how you create individual tokens for them. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so it should be set, and it is using that token, the same exact token.
Yeah. So perhaps I was just going too fast, or
I don't know. Save and then add the policy to the token. Go back to the token.
Okay, it was this one.
Yeah. Well, it's in there.
Mm-hmm.
It is saved. We're not imagining that it's saved, right?
when we go to all tokens, it's got the little DNS request policy attached here.
I would recommend that maybe you go onto the machine and reload.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just do a console reload.
Oh, don't forget the.
I don't have a token for it.
Yeah.
So I just guess I can just grab this here.
Are you sure that's the right one though? Hold on. So you're on 38.
38.
Okay. 38. That is web? Okay.
Yep.
Could you do restart console?
So this is the web one. And then I did a console reload. Do you want me to just straight up do this?
Yeah.
Okay.
It hopefully won't I don't think it will overwrite the policy because I don't think you set the policies here. So. Okay.
Okay.
Can you look up on the host? Can you access it like curl to HTTP API service? Yeah.
What is the URL for this again? Console.service.
Service.console. API.service.console.
That's right. And then we would have the 9090 port.
Yep.
Curl cannot resolve host.
That's
Permission.
different. Can you NS lookup API.service.console? Unless we pepcacked it again. Also quite likely. Maybe we didn't do service.console. It's not service.console. Hold on, brain. 1 second. What is the DNS API.service.console? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just gonna look at this thing. Let's see if it had any more commentary on this. Console agent serving DNS requests.
Well, create name. The thing is, we added that policy.
Yeah. Does it, so the API doesn't need it then?
API shouldn't, I mean, add it to API. Let's see if maybe it
Okay.
just needs a reverse thing, but I'm
Yeah.
not really sure why it would be,
Yeah, why that would help.
yeah,
Yeah.
help or hinder.
Furthermore,
Is the console clients, can you double check that your console client is set as the DNS resolver? I know we did this before, but just like, can you
how do I go about checking that?
remember our systemd conf, the systemd resolve.conf?
Yes. Where was that again here? Let me see where I
Uh,
should have that in like the terms of the files that got set up.
yeah, because we've
Oh, here
set
we
it
go.
up before, but I don't
So,
remember if
yeah.
like this either got. Okay.
So this is what was set up in all of
Right.
them
And it
for
was
the
working.
clients. Mm-hmm.
Is
Yeah.
now
When
not
I
working.
remove, when I don't have the ACLs in, they do talk to each other just fine. So I don't think it's that. I think it just must be something with the my impression, my limited knowledge here is that it is just something to do with the token policies.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything. How did
Hmm.
how did we generate the how did we generate the node identity policies again? Did you do those manually?
Generate.
The node
I didn't.
the
Yeah.
the yeah, these.
I didn't for the tokens. I just generated them doing ACL bootstrap and then doing the
Right.
ones for the node identity and the service identity. But in terms of the policies that they're coming with by default, I
Yeah.
haven't done any of those.
Okay.
Could
Got it.
it have something to do with us needing to do something with the service identity policies?
Um No, I don't think so because they has the policy
No.
in there. So the
Yeah.
suggestion is that maybe we try setting the default token on there. We don't have the token DNS token, but maybe we can. Can you go into the client console client SSH into that?
Yeah. Which one? Just the web one?
Web. Yeah, web is fine.
Yeah. Here
And
we
then
are.
can you do console ACL token create
Oh,
dash
so we're gonna make a new
description?
one?
Yeah. Well, we'll just see if we can issue a token based on the policy that we have. And
Oh,
then
okay. I see.
you can say token for DNS requests or something.
Okay.
We're just going to reissue a new token and then
And see if
we'll
that's
see.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, dash
Yeah.
policy name.
Okay. Is it which
Yeah,
one am I looking?
that.
Oh, this one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
I think because we already have the policy created, we should be okay. We shouldn't need.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
DNS requests. Because
Oh,
I don't
did
have
you export?
I don't have
Yeah.
I don't have the token set. Or that one.
No. Do it with the global token.
Oh,
Because you
not
won't have
the
permission. You won't have permission with that
Oh.
one.
Oh, okay.
Remember?
Well,
You won't have
sad day.
permission. Yeah.
Okay, well. What is the name of that token?
Consul
It is-
HTTP token. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So there is wait, was that the correct token?
Yeah, that's it.
Wait. Oh, I guess I wouldn't know. Yeah, okay. Just checking. All right, now I should be able to do this. Yes. So now we're just going to set this as the new token with the set agent token default and hope that it will work.
Yeah, we're just going to see what happens here because then.
God mode token.
Yeah. Okay, so then you have ACL set agent token default, and then take that secret ID. Yeah, that one. Okay.
All right.
So then let's do dig at 127.001 space dash P space 8600.
Oh, port.
Yeah. Yep. And then was it web.service.console? Something like that.
Oh, wait.
Or sorry, API.service.console. Right. So we just want to check if we can even access it. Okay. So then we got the answer. That's
Yep.
good. Okay. So now can you curl to it? So if this is broken, it is because our resolution is probably broken, not because we can't access console now. So,
Well, it fits.
yay. It works. Okay, so now you should
So,
refresh.
so this should just be working then now.
Yeah. There you go. Okay. So we just created a new token and added it. So I think the problem is that it doesn't do an in-place update of the policy for an
The
existing
policies.
token.
Ah, that's got to be it. So, yeah, because of this DNS request policy is not okay.
Can
How
you
do
refresh
we?
this page?
Yeah. Yeah, here's the new one.
Okay. Yeah. See, that's yeah.
I'm gonna see what we got here. Yeah,
Yep.
so it's just the same thing. So the problem then, it seems that for the node one that we originally were doing, it, even though we have the same stuff on here, it was not working because we didn't get it updated in place. Can we go back to using this token again and do whatever we need to do to get it to update?
Well, I think unfortunately we have to just issue the new ACL. So in some ways, I think we even like you would have to just create. You could duplicate if you click
Well,
duplicate. Oh,
since
you,
this has
oh,
the policy,
right.
shouldn't this be usable?
Yeah, try it.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah, like
copy it
maybe,
back and then reload it.
yeah. Like I wonder if just setting it again will do it. Where is my theme here? There it is. All right. And it works.
Yeah, I guess new token.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that makes a question here of, in this case, we had gone ahead and set the token here, right? Is that the correct token?
Well, go back to 38 and then open, yeah, 6.
That's not.
That's
That
not
is
the
totally
same.
a different
Yeah.
token. Why is that different?
I
Did
don't know. What is the token that you did
I
set? Oh
mixed up the.
no. Yeah, you set. Right. Oh, because that's the service. Sorry, brain.
Yes.
That's the service
No.
token.
Oh, it is. So that one is right. Okay.
Yeah,
So
that
then
one's right.
it's okay.
Where's your console config? Yeah.
Okay. So that was there then, because
Yeah,
that's the
that was there.
EE. Yeah.
Okay.
So does anyone in the chat then know how to, after you've added a policy to a token, making it recognize the new policy?
Someone says that it may be that originally when you set up the client, you set the agent token, but not the default token. So we might have to set a default token, like force it to set a default token. Yeah, because I'm looking at the. I'll paste the command in the chat or the documentation in the chat. But it looks like that there's token types. There's a default token type, and that's what the agent will use for internal agent operations. As well as the HTTP and DNS interfaces. And then there's the agent token. So it appears that we set the agent token, but not the default token. And so
we need this. Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
So then, okay, cool. So I want to try something real quick. Just what I want to do is update this with that new value with the default token. But then I would like to, just for experimentation, if this is cool with you, unset the one that we've set in the CLI and then just mess around with the policy and see if it hot reloads the token. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so for those recapping, we're seeing if we do a reload, we reset the policy on the token. Now that we've set it as a default token, we'll at least reload it and see if it actually picks up the policy real time versus.
So in practice, you would leave both of these then?
You could probably just set it as a default. Like
And
the
just get
default
rid of the
token.
agent altogether?
Yeah, but I don't know if that. Hold
Okay.
on. Before we do that, ACL, I have to look at the config.
Yeah. All good.
I just don't guarantee that anything. Like, I will never remember this. It's just like eventually I'll remember. I think, but it just takes me a while. There are a lot of configs.
There
Um,
are.
where is the token? Agent? Ah, okay. Yeah, tokens holds default too. So maybe we could set this as default instead of agent.
And so just get rid of agent altogether.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder in what case you would use a separate agent token from a separate default one.
Well, if you're not using DNS, for example, right?
When would you not do that with Consul?
For a couple reasons,
Yeah.
you might choose to do it with service mesh, and in which case your service mesh doesn't necessarily need
Oh,
DNS resolution, right?
okay. Well,
Yeah.
there we go. All right. Goodbye, agent. All right. So we've got that. How do I go about doing the opposite of set agent token? Can I just actually, if I just restart Consul, it should lose this, right?
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Tidbit from chat: agent tokens are only used internally by the Consul agent, and the default token is what the agent will use to service external requests.
Okay. Gotcha. So whoever answered that, do you need to set both?
We're on a bit of a delay, so we'll see.
Yeah. Okay,
I would just restart and then we'll see. I
Yeah.
don't think you need to set both. I think you could just set the default.
Okay. Well,
because like if
doing that worked.
Basically default will do everything, right? So if we're doing service discovery, we might as well change our config completely to default rather than agent token.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that worked. This is
Mm-hmm.
working just fine now. So now what I want to see is if we go into here.
There's one way that we could test this.
Yeah. I was going to just remove this policy real quick, see if it breaks it, and then add it back.
Oh, okay.
Does that work?
Okay. I don't know. We could try it. I
just wanted to see it.
The chat's like, depends. The answer is depends, Cole.
Oh, okay. Depends. Nice. Those are my favorite answers. Depends.
We're all just learning this. Last time we broke, like a couple streams ago, we broke Consul, and we ended up doing outage recovery for for with good reason, but like it was very entertaining. So
look at that.
Okay.
It did pick up the change.
So we do need default. I think that's what it comes down to. If you're doing service discovery, you should be setting a default service token probably.
And now it works again.
ACL
nice.
Token. Yeah.
So it will pick up changes to your policy that are changes to your tokens policies without you having to reload it. That's
right. We just made the mistake of perhaps setting an agent token when maybe we should just set it as a default token because we're doing service discovery and lookups.
Oh, thing. Let me go ahead and fix that in the API or API's node. What was that? Caret. That's what it was. All right. Well, I feel like I have a better grasp on tokens and policies now. A little fuzzy on the configurations because every time I encounter a depends, obviously, that's always a scary little monster in the back of the mental cave. But anyhow, in general, your token is how you authenticate yourself between the ecosystem of Consul, and the policies are what determine what it is that you can do with the API. And nice.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, where does that leave us in our exploration of Consul ACLs?
Well, do you want to go more into ACLs? Do you?
I would love to learn the language some. Like writing a tricky, clever one would be kind of cool, just so we can explore. I think you mentioned something doing with key value store to explore that, or.
Yeah, like we can do that. Use key value. Another tidbit from chat: if you don't set a default, the agent will use anonymous token for requests, which basically means no access.
Nice.
So that is why we still
doing.
couldn't. Yeah, that is why we still couldn't access it. ACLs, so complicated. Okay. All right. So we just to demonstrate ACLs, because what I did explain to Cole was that we probably will have a difficult time demonstrating sort of syntax of ACLs with just the abstracted policies. So, like for example, you see node identity, service identity. Those are hard to identify and fully understand. So what we're going to do is use Consul key value store. Consul has a key value store. Naturally, this is an extension of the service catalog, right? Because services are name of service identity to location of service. It is a key and a value. Thus, most of what Consul includes is heavily oriented around a key value store. And so then you can use said key value store for your own purposes. Cole, would you like to know why you would use a key value store, or shall we omit that discussion?
Of course.
So you can use a Consul key value store for a couple things. If you are, let's say, someone who uses Vault, you could use Consul as a storage backend. So Vault would use the key value store to store information about Vault, encrypted, of course. But you could use it as a backend. The key value store, you make changes. It uses the same protocols under the hood to achieve consensus on the said values. So for the most part, you can use it for a number of things. It's almost like functionality that you might find in like etcd, for example. That's a common analogy. You can also use key value stores for various configuration storage. In the past, I've used it to store like Spring Boot application properties, for example. I've used it as a feature toggling mechanism. So I have my experience with key value store comes mostly from a sort of a development perspective and not necessarily from like a systems backend perspective. So the way I learned key value store was literally, and key value store, the way I learned ACLs actually came from key value store because I had needed access to certain feature toggles, and I might not have had access. So you'll see more of it look a little bit like what Cole is familiar with, which is the Vault policy engine, Vault ACL and policy engine. Yeah. Yes. You don't have to raise your hand.
It's just easier that way. I'm not like, yo, what's up? Okay, but so on the key value storage, I know that it's not. I don't think it's like touted as the default backend for Vault anymore. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That is correct. If you're using Vault, the recommended store going forward is Raft, or it's the integrated storage. Pretty neat. Yeah, I mean, for a long time, Vault and Consul were kind of hand in hand in terms of storage backends. You are perfectly. I will say this though: if you are using Consul as a Vault storage backend, please use a separate instance of Consul for that. I don't really think that you should be setting like your service discovery console as the equivalent like storage backend console either. I would have some concerns about that. So yeah.
Yeah. And so from my understanding, what makes it a viable backend is the fact that Raft storage is kind of hard to kill. If you've got 5 servers up, they're going to be syncing that data. If a couple of them go down, you don't have to worry about losing all your data because they're always keeping it up in sync. Cool. Nice. All right. So that was my first question about that. My second thing is what I would love to do, Rosemary, is create a couple key values and then make it and limit it so that the web can only access some and the API can only access some. Can we do that?
Yeah, we can do that.
Cool.
So let's do this. Okay, so let's create let's create the key value. Okay. So you're under the global management token. So this means you can write to the key value and you can read from the key value and you can do whatever you want to inside key value. So let's create a couple of keys and values because why not? That just seems like the thing to do.
I was like, where's the create button? And it was hidden under the little zoom thingy. So here it is. All right.
Yes. Yes. So I will let you create a set of keys and values. You can create a key and you can create like folders. So you can do like you can do like kind of like a folder directory of sorts. So you can do
Okay.
like,
So I could do like
yeah,
Rosemary secret.
yeah, and then I wouldn't put a secret like that in Consul because Consul does it all in plain text. But
Okay. Oh no, no. I mean, it's not going to actually be secret,
I don't know.
right? So my
It's
understanding of
not
this
going
is
to be
like
secret.
vault.
No.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay. Well, we'll just say it. We'll just call it thing. I feel like that's pretty generic. So if my understanding is correct, this would create a new folder with a key thing with a value hello, right?
Yeah. So you could do, yes, that's fine. That is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll make one of those, and then we'll make one whole thing. And now we've got two. Rosemary.
Sorry, I'm answering chat. Okay. You know what?
Yeah.
I'll answer it live because it's just easier.
Yeah.
So we were chatting briefly about Vault backends, Vault storage
Mhm.
backends, and someone mentioned that it's better, in the docs. It is better to use, I guess, the recommendation now is for Vault specifically, is to use integrated Raft, which is the integrated storage backend. So yes, that is indeed correct. It is better now. With good reason. With good reason. So yeah, everybody, it is very confusing because Raft is effectively like writing to a local file, but it's not. And so it's a little bit more complex as a system. So you are indeed correct. It is the recommended way to set up Vault storage backend going forward. Sorry. Yes. Had to answer that
Cool.
in the chat. Because I know
Yes.
there's been some chatter in there, so I was like, we should just chat. We should chat about that. All right, so
Yeah.
we have keys and we have values now. All right, so let's try a couple
Mhm.
things, right? Let's go back to your policy, or let's go back to your tokens, and then let's create a new token. We'll use this as sort of like a create. We only, by the way, for those who are looking at this, restrict this token to a local data center. We only have one data center. If we had multiple data center, then this would be more important, but we don't. So we haven't gotten to that point. So let's create a new policy. All right. You could call it key value testing, KV testing, something like that. Okay. All right, so let's talk about rules. In Consul, the ACL system offers a set of predefined kind of rules that you can use.
Okay.
So the one that you're going to be using today, or let me just find it, the actual config, is going to be KV, Consul KV.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So KV
Was that on here?
has, yeah, it's on here somewhere.
Oh, that's right. Here it is. It's right down
Yeah.
under here. Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. So here it gives you a couple things. There's deny, write, read, and list, right? Those are the main rules. I mean, most of them have these rules. Most of the policies have these rules, which is deny, write, read, list anyway.
Mhm.
So you're pretty much good there. Some of them have some nuances and some differences, but for the most part, that's really what you're going to.
Yeah.
Those are the actions that you can take. All right. So key prefix. Key prefix. Remember, prefix is kind of like everything under there, right? So in sort of file structure, it would be like col/star, right? Read everything underneath there. You might not be able to list, but you might be able to read a top level. So let's actually give that a try. So let's copy that, and then we'll try to read from col.
Okay. And so if I do this, this effectively says this token has the ability to read anything under the col folder.
Right. But there's some nuances to this. But we're going to just do this by example. It's just, that way you get a sense of what the semantics are looking like. So create and apply. Yep. And
Nice.
save.
And
Yep. Grab that token. You can choose where you want to go. You can go on the web. You can go on wherever you want.
yeah, cool. We'll just go right on this one.
Yeah, so you can do export Consul HTTP token. Yep. And then I believe if you just make sure you do Consul is it KV? Consul KV help. Can you do help? Make sure that is there. Yeah, there we go.
Get.
Okay. So
get.
yeah. Yep. Get. And then col.
Nice.
There you go.
And if I were to do Rosemary thing, no, we cannot.
Yep.
Which is perfect, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nice.
Now,
okay, that's
the
pretty
reason,
straightforward.
Right. So the question is, why is it allowing you to read everything under col/thing? Well, it's because you set a key prefix, right? So if you go back to your policy, you set a key prefix for col.
Mm-hmm.
And so key prefix means anything under that folder structure, quote unquote, under that API path, right? So that's really it's just mapping to an API path. So everything under that API. Now, if you change this up, I don't think you can edit them inline here. I think you have to just go back to policies and edit the policy, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right. No.
Oh yeah, you can.
Wait.
You're good.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
good.
Nice.
Okay.
This is like that will kill it.
Yes. Wait, is is that your does that exist? That doesn't exist, does it? Oh, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
It basically will tell you it won't exist. Can you just change it to key? So remove the prefix.
Just okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. And then save that.
Oh, it just does this. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
And then try it again. Right. So to be really specific, you can narrow it down and you just do a read. You can also do one other thing, which is if you go to back to your policy, and instead of doing key col, you can say key col, and why don't you just do policy list? Don't touch col, just policy list. Yeah.
List. Okay.
Yeah. So what do you think this would do?
Is there even a list function or command under KV? Okay.
Yes, there is.
I would imagine it would just give us the keys, not the values.
Right. So.
Okay. Let's save that then.
Yeah.
Okay. Where is the list command here?
There is none. You just do get.
Or list.
Yeah, it's a get.
Okay. I see.
Well,
come on, thing.
Col.
Do I need to like?
Oh,
no,
maybe. Oh no, wait. Your policy has a slash. Can you get rid of the slash in the policy? I forget. I always forget about this. Yeah, you need it. There we go.
Okay. Try again.
Well, I guess technically that it doesn't have keys because it's a file path. So if you go back to the policy, sorry.
Okay.
And then what was the col slash what other or something? Is that what it was?
It was thing.
Thing. Okay. Yeah. Then you can save.
Okay. So, okay. Yeah. Well, let's just do this. Okay. So let's try again. So should I do this slash here or do you think? Okay. That just straight up gives me the value.
Right. Well, list, I guess, is technically the same as read in this situation.
Interesting.
But you can't get that. So, actually, I think if you did key prefix, but remove the thing.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Let's try this again. I expect with this for it to just give me like a list of keys, like to just say like thing and other.
Can you remove the slash?
Oh, just from the command?
Well, that doesn't help. ACL policy settings in the server ACL config. I think maybe the slash is throwing it off.
Yeah. I mean, what is the list thing supposed to do here? Like, what is list supposed to do? Is it supposed to, am I supposed to be able to, looks like recurse.
Right. Which I don't actually.
You would get a list of key values.
I think you have to just remove the slash.
Okay.
ACL policy list.
Well, I mean, the example they have here has the slash in it.
Right. But that's for read. So it's reading any value underneath it. Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So let's try that again. Yeah, it still doesn't like the.
Can you get col/? I wonder. I don't know. Lovely.
um,
Well,
so
no.
I'm kind of losing context of what we're trying to do here. What are we trying to do with this
Basically, it's
policy?
just playing around with the ACL policy. To be
Yeah,
honest, I don't think list will help us very much in this situation.
yeah. Let me
Um,
try something. I want to just
mhm.
make some more values under this, just so there's more than one thing. Other, other. So now we have
So
two
someone's
things under
recommendation
col.
is list policy setting in the server ACL config. Not sure if that's enabled by default. That's a good point.
So you're saying in the server that the API that the API lives on.
Yeah, so the server, I think it's actually the console server itself. So console server needs to have ACL enable key list policy because by default it does not it's not turned on, which is why we don't actually have access to it.
So here.
No, the ACL, if you know, remember in the server config, your server console.hcl, console.hcl, if you go to console server,
To the actual server here.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then you print out console.hcl, our config.
Yeah.
Okay, so under ACL, we need to add a
Yeah.
field that is enable underscore keylist underscore policy.
Okay. What does that do?
So that will enable us to use list. So apparently list is not turned on by default
Oh,
as of console 1.0. So
okay. Well, interesting. So, sorry, what is that field called again?
enable underscore key underscore list underscore policy.
And
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. I guess it's like if you don't want to allow people to recurse through keys, maybe that's
Yeah,
the point. You know, you just
that
explicitly
makes
set everything to
sense.
read and write. Remember, you can do a reload, console reload, maybe.
Oh, that works. That works for
I don't
ACLs.
know. We
I
could try it.
can't remember.
I think you have to
Yeah, let's
set the
just see.
token anyway. Oh, well, that works too.
Yeah, I had the
I don't
token
remember.
set. So,
I remember this was also an it depends.
okay. Yeah. Um, I think right now it's just the actual policy itself. I'm screwing this up. Possibly. It's
No,
coal.
that should be
No.
it.
Huh.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, I mean, I just want to see because the example they have here has this under read.
Yeah. Well, we could just do everything with reads. We don't have to use lists at all.
So if we do that, we save it. We come over
You
to
just
here.
won't recurse.
We're still not getting. How did they do it in here? They have it with recurse. Okay, so this is the actual example. So this should do it. Recurse. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So there it
Okay.
listed
That
now.
was fine. Okay. Well, you can
Yeah.
achieve the same thing, so that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we could do a reload. I think we had to do a full system restart, but it's fine. I don't think we need it really. It looks like you can do the same thing with read.
Yeah.
So cool. Okay.
Okay.
So let's actually try writing something. You want to do that?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So this would be that would be the put, right?
Mm-hmm.
So KV put something like col another one. Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
And then of course that won't work.
Right. So now write a policy that can put
Mhm.
another one.
So if I come into here, if I wanted to curious, can you stack same policies? Like could I like turn this into a list with read and write?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, okay. So then I would have to do a whole nother separate one. Oh no. Wrong braces.
Actually, I'm looking though. Couldn't hurt to look. I don't believe you can. Yeah, I think you actually have to set them individually.
Okay. So this should then work.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone's suggestion is do another one bites the dust. as a value.
Nice. And now we have it.
Yay.
So there's the
Cool.
right. So that leaves us with the, I'm
Deny?
guessing deny.
You want
Yeah,
to do a deny?
yeah, let's do it. So let's first go over here. Let's deny anything from Rosemary.
I mean, it's already denied, right? So I recommend you
That's true.
deny. I recommend you deny something that's nested under col. So maybe
Okay.
you deny another, like deny the read of another. So you can write
Okay.
to another, but you can't read from another.
Okay, interesting. So we'll do key. So we're going to be doing explicit key this time. And then policy read.
No, deny.
Does this look
Right?
right? Deny.
Deny.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now if we do this for the recurse, yes, we only get.
Haha.
Nice. Okay, that was simple.
But let's change it. So if you can do Consul KV put col another and then change it to add 1 underscore bites the dust. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll just do that. DJ Khaled.
What?
Oh, well, it doesn't like
Well,
him.
it is restricting it. So deny, right, is restricting all.
Yeah, that's right. It is just straight up a deny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess that takes care of both read and write.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, well, that.
There you go.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
The more you know.
Yeah.
The more you know now.
Yeah. Okay. So then that leaves the list.
I don't know. Do you want? I mean, we got what we needed to do by doing recurse.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I think I get it. Are there any other areas of this policy language that you like? If we wanted to do something like what is it? Break the connection right now between API and web. Is there a way that we could go into one of these service tokens that we haven't messed with yet and put a policy that's just like, hey, don't talk to the API?
So no, right?
Oh, okay.
You could do it. You could do it by breaking DNS, right? So you could remove the DNS request capability, and that would stop it from communicating.
Yeah.
Intentions don't quite work this way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's a separate functionality in Consul we haven't talked about yet, which is intentions. Intentions is effectively the network policy capability, and that is a service mesh capability. It is not something that will be, while ACLs are a requirement. So the funny thing is, in order for intentions to work, actually, you do need ACLs. You do need some form of the ACL mechanism on, and that's preferable, actually.
Okay.
You can do intentions without ACLs on. It is possible to do it. You just have to be explicit about the rules. When you turn on ACLs, intentions denies by default. So it uses a deny by default policy for intentions. But intentions only works with service mesh because intentions depends on Envoy proxy and the Envoy proxy filters.
So just to clarify, my question here was, I want to do something like, could I, we like the API, for example, has a policy on it, right? It's got this default one. And if I wanted to say, yo, don't talk to web, there's nothing I could put in here to make that happen.
You could try something. I don't guarantee that it will help, but we can try something. You could put service web deny. And then maybe what that would do is stop Consul from resolving to that service. Okay.
So service, web, policy, deny.
Yeah. You could try that. I don't know for sure. Actually, wouldn't that need to be reversed? So web going to API?
I don't know. Would it?
Yeah, because right now it doesn't work anyway, I suspect.
Okay, yeah, because it's still, that didn't do anything.
Yeah,
it seems.
that didn't do
anything. Oh wait,
anything.
because I didn't save it. Let's see.
Well, it wouldn't know anything better, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
necessarily.
So
If you did want to do a deny, you would have to go from the upstream to the downstream. So that would have to
yeah.
be a
So
policy you put on API or on
okay.
web. Sorry,
So
on web, not on API.
let's go to web
Mm-hmm.
and then apply this. Well, I guess so we would need to tell it to deny API,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Deny API. Service. Do we do API here or what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
Okay, we
API.
do the API.
Right, because you are
Policy.
on web, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't think this will work, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's kind of like cats out of the bag.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
could tell DNS, you could change the DNS
Yeah.
request policy to basically not resolve every service prefix, right?
Yeah. And by the way, yeah, you're right. That didn't do anything.
Yeah. So what you could do is go to what you could do is go to the client, the node identity
Okay. For which one? Web or API?
for web.
Okay.
Yeah.
For
And you
web.
can add the deny API, sorry. Add deny web API on here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So now try to do the resolution.
Nice.
There you go. Okay.
Cool.
So basically, if you add that, right, it's saying you can't look up. You can't look it up. So even though it has access to DNS, you're telling the ACL system that Consul can't, the node identity of web can't look up API.
Yeah. So you can get to the front door, you just can't get in.
Yeah. However,
Nice.
API can still go, like, it's not bi-directional. So API could still go look up web and whatever it needs to do.
Okay. Yeah. So you would have to apply these
Yeah.
to the other things. So if although would that even make a difference here if we did web, like, and
I don't think
got
so.
rid of API?
I mean, if you try to resolve to web, it will just not resolve, but it won't like stop the I don't know if it works.
Yeah.
I think
that still works.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Neat. So you can, to an extent, control the traffic between your services with ACLs.
It's not. I don't even think it's controlling traffic.
It's not even traffic. It's just the
resolution.
API. Yeah,
it's
the API.
It's like resolution. You can control which services resolve using the ACL.
Yeah.
But you can't really fully control the traffic.
Right. So it's not enough. It's not enough, but it's something that you would need to use it in concert with something else to be truly secure and block it off.
Yeah, exactly. And as someone pointed out in chat, thank you. If web, the service cached the DNS response, it wouldn't help, right? So if it cached the DNS, the lookup, right, it can still go to the IP address. It's not actually block,
So it's basically the application is is the application layer is blocking, not any of the actual networking stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay, that's pretty neat.
So that's pretty much ACLs, like at least the ins and outs of ACLs.
So quick question then, so for these ACLs, I feel like the usage for them around key values is pretty straightforward, right? Because that I really like this as a way to just get it under our fingertips. And I understand now the usage of these of ACLs when it comes to the actual nodes themselves. I'm still kind of fuzzy as to what the use cases are for ACLs with the service identity.
So if you pull up the service identity specifically, right, it can get information about itself. So it can change information about itself. When we turn on service mesh, this will be more important, but it can change information about its proxy. So that's why you see web sidecar proxy. And the service has access to all services. So that's service prefix, policy read.
Yeah.
It has access to retrieve information about it. It could be for a variety of reasons. It could be for a resolution. It could be the service itself, right, resolving to something else. Node prefix, similarly, right, is also kind of for resolution. Not DNS per se, but just understanding what are the other services available. What are the node prefixes of other nodes in this cluster that are available to me?
Gotcha. Okay, so that makes sense. So yeah, this is the This is the one for the web here. Trying to think if I had other questions for this. Trying to think of an example case. I think that might be all the questions I have in it. For some reason, it still feels kind of fuzzy because there's a couple of these like depends and this was the question. So the difference between ACLs and intentions, then what is that?
So it's architecturally different. So ACLs are restrictions to ACL access control lists are restrictions to Consul's API. So think of it as more management, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's restricting access to things within Consul's HTTP API as well as just general Consul related activity. So as someone pointed out in the chat, like we don't go into this because it is more complex, but there's such a thing as Consul network coordinates, and basically these are ways to identify the nodes in the cluster. You can use them for a couple of different things, like failing over. There's a lot of complex patterns that you can do, and that's where there's a lot of other deeper functionality that we don't cover. But those things are controlled by ACLs, right? So things that are about like the Consul network, the Consul management control plane itself are going to be based on access control lists. The difference with intentions is intentions from a technical view only work when only work if you have proxies in place. So intentions are made to pass configuration to proxies, and they are managing control from layer 7 and layer 4, right? So they have not much to do with Consul management network connectivity itself or API authorization itself. They have everything to do with service-to-service communication specifically. Yeah. So, for example, we've conflated the two a bit in this example because web is on a VM and API is on a VM.
Yeah.
Right? And so web and API together, they are doing service-to-service communication with service discovery, right? But there's nothing, as you pointed out, there's nothing stopping them from communicating directly to each other IP to IP, right? In the case of
the API itself.
It's just the API. So intentions, what it will let you do, kind of to a certain degree, is that if you put a proxy in front of web and you put a proxy in front of API, and all communication between web to API is going through the proxy, intentions allows you to configure the proxy to truly stop the network traffic between the two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
You can think of it as like a layered like firewall of sorts. Like you're adding a bit of a firewall in front of these things. Intentions are very close to ACLs, right? But they're usually for two different purposes. Intentions are for the quote-unquote data plane, so services communicating with each other of Consul. ACLs are for, I guess, the management plane, the Consul control itself.
Yeah, cool. So if we've got two post offices, right? And then we have a delivery service.
Yeah.
The ACLs are like the in-house postal office rules. Like we're only gonna take packages like X, Y, and Z. The intentions, though, are the actual delivery of those packages elsewhere. Those are like, all right, we've gotten to the other post office, but we're not even going to put this in the door now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cool. All right, nice. Well,
is that less fuzzy?
Yeah, no, it's a hell of a lot less fuzzy. It's still a teddy bear, but it's a less fuzzy teddy bear.
Well, it's a little bit like, and I'm trying to make you the analogies because it is important to recognize this from a conceptual view of the differences, right? So ACLs are AWS identity and access management, right? So AWS IAM policies, rules, restrictions to the AWS API, those are things that are management related, AWS management related.
Nice.
Intentions are kind of like an AWS security group.
Okay. That makes it crystal clear.
There you go.
All right. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else? Because
Um,
I know we had a aspirational, let's do an external CA, but I don't think we have time for that because we have to create
yeah.
all sorts of weird things for it.
In a way, we've kind of already done that, and I could just go in and explain kind of the bare bones of it. But
Yeah, if you
I
could.
did, yeah, but I did have one more question on the ACL stuff.
Hmm.
And that comes to the sort of the approaches that I touched on before that made us 10 minutes late. And that is around automating the bootstrapping of the ACL system. That seems obviously doable with a set of hacks and retry loops and or other nifty conventions, but it seems very difficult to automate. And I wanted your just a discussion around that because there's obviously reasons why it's difficult to automate that are valid. But yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's the bootstrapping specifically, right? It's not really the distribution of ACLs because once you have it started, you're pretty much okay. The problem is seeding the cluster with the right ACLs in the first place.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think the real challenge is like the bootstrap ACL workflow is a command. Um, it is a command, and you basically have to go in and you have to say like, I am ready to set up this ACL and then grant me this ACL token. There's a lot of order of operations here that isn't fully captured when you have a 100% declarative infrastructure as code automation component, which is what we have here, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And you may not want, first of all, you may not want a completely automated bootstrap mechanism because you have this bootstrap token that gives you everything. You can do whatever you want to. And this is something that's, if you actually look at this workflow on Kubernetes, even, if you deploy Consul on Kubernetes, the bootstrap token is saved as a Kubernetes secret, right? There's no way around it. You need to create it and you need to start the cluster with this token. And it is automated in that it is like a command that is generating this token. But it is
Oh,
written
okay.
out. It is written out to a Kubernetes secret to store that token for further
Yeah.
usage, right? Um, so I think what we talked about when we brainstormed how we would automate this was like, well, you could get the bootstrap token, right? Run something in Terraform, get that bootstrap token, and store it in AWS Secrets Manager or Vault or whatever, and then read out that token for future usage to generate other tokens.
Mm-hmm.
That sequence is something that is, as you pointed out, requires retries, requires a blend of imperative commands
Mm-hmm.
in declarative setup, and
Yeah.
that's kind of where we got a bit stuck.
Yeah. So my question is, let's say that we did have that somehow magically set up to where when you start from scratch and it all pops up, the ACL, the main master token is generated. Whenever we have a new node pop up and whenever we have a new service within that node pop up, those also need tokens generated with that root master token. Now, surely in existing Consul systems where that's already up, how does one go about automating that?
So some of this is a lot easier. Is actually a
Okay.
lot easier than it is. It's not done manually.
Yeah.
So just as Vault has auth methods, Consul has auth methods.
Okay.
And the auth methods are primarily organized around automated ACL token issuance, right? So
Oh,
you can do something like the jot auth method in Consul that can issue an ACL token, right? So it registers and it says, "Hi,
okay.
I'm authorized to communicate with Consul. Give me a token," and it will just get that token. So there
Okay.
are, yeah. So in terms of node and services, both uh, can get that can have that kind of workflow. In
Okay.
fact, that is how, for example, Kubernetes approaches it.
Gotcha. So just for my clarification, that means that there is an API once Consul's up and running that services and nodes can connect to and get their ACL token.
Yeah,
Perfect. Okay. That makes sense.
yeah.
Okay.
In the case of AWS, that's not really possible.
Oh,
AWS is done kind of manually. You have to. In the case of AWS, you probably have to do some kind of ACL generation using Vault, or
okay.
something else that will issue tokens, because there's no AWS auth method. Yeah, so that's kind of tricky in that there's no AWS auth method. So a lot of what you might do on AWS specifically might involve automated issuance, or some declarative creation of the token to pass to your node.
Okay. So in that type of system, it would be you have an existing Consul cluster. You also have a Vault deployment. You have a new node pop up that wants to have connect to the Consul cluster and also have some new services. It would need to go to Vault first to get its ACL, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So Vault then that to me suggests that Vault in this example is configured to work with the Consul cluster. Okay,
It
and sync
is
up.
configured. So as someone mentioned this in the chat. So how apropos, you
Huh.
basically would use the management token, or you would use a bootstrap to generate a management token for Vault, and then Vault would be able
Okay.
to issue the ACL tokens on your behalf. So you can,
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
So because Vault has a Consul ACL secrets engine, so if yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So that we don't have a whiteboard for this because it's kind of weird as a workflow. But
Yeah.
basically, you use the management token from Consul to set up the Consul secrets engine in Vault.
Yep.
Vault issues new ACLs as well as the specific policies associated with them. When your virtual machine comes up, it uses Vault's either EC2 or IAM, whatever you decide to configure, EC2 or IAM auth method to retrieve information, retrieve a new ACL token from Consul,
Ah,
and
I
use
see.
that in order to configure its Consul agent, which then then it's happy and it's going to come up. So the
Okay.
automated workflow without a native auth method, in the case of Consul, means that you need to defer it to a secrets manager or something else, right?
Gotcha.
That's preferable.
Okay. So that makes more sense then.
Yeah.
And the reason why that works is because you can have Vault set up to look at, for example, the EC2 instance's IAM role
Right.
and like say, yes, you are who you say you are, therefore
Right.
I will issue an ACL
Right.
to you. Nice.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, well that makes sense. It's a lot more
Uh-huh.
work than I thought would go into it,
Yeah,
but
on
yeah, it
other,
makes
I
sense.
think, I don't know for sure what if there are or if there are thoughts on this necessarily. I will say
Mm-hmm.
you can use consoles ACL auth methods, for example, for Azure, right? Because Azure or GCP, they do OIDC and JOT based. They offer OIDC or JOT based authentication, on their machines as part of their instance
Mm-hmm.
metadata. So federated identity is available in the form of JOT and OIDC. So the result is that you can do that. You can use machine identity or federated identity on the machine to authenticate to Consul without needing to do the secrets
Nice.
management piece. It's just
Cool.
AWS. If you do this, it works to your benefit to set up external secrets managed
Yeah,
somewhere else. Yeah.
gotcha. Okay, nice. Well, that sums up most of what I had around ACLs. Obviously, there's a lot more to the policy language that we could explore, but probably not for today. Was there anything else you had on that?
No, I don't have anything else on that. We got the basic rules down. Those, at least in terms of usage, basic usage, these are the main ones. You would pretty much do like key, probably service, and nodes. Maybe those are the main ones. You might have a couple other ones that you use, but those are the big policies. At least the big policy rules that you um,
Nice.
probably would use. So it's kind of tricky, but you eventually get a sense of like what to do with the policies in the ACLs. Um, Most of the if you're doing this on other orchestration platforms, you don't necessarily have to set this up yourself. It's kind of automated. This becomes a little bit more important in the mesh space, though, because, for example, the gateways, whether terminating definitely needs ACL policies. So there are certain policies that need to be created and tokens that need to be created for each of these components on mesh, which is, we're not talking about that right now. We're gonna layer that soon. Yes,
Gotcha.
that will be November.
Nice. So in other words, we will revisit these more in depth when we get to that part. Yeah, cool.
Pretty much.
All right. Well, I guess that brings to our bit on the external CA, correct?
Yeah. We can just talk about it briefly. We were a little ambitious. We thought about doing Vault with it, but then it's just like between the amount of time we needed to take to set up Vault and the amount of time left in this, I don't think we have time.
Yeah, so. I don't think it, after doing it external from Consul, I also don't think it necessarily needs it, just because the way you would go about doing it with any CA is pretty much the same. Everything's going to begin with your root certificate authority. So the thing that signs off all of your other things. So we kind of have a root CA in Terraform here because we're using the TLS provider. So the pattern is going to be this: no matter what CA you use, you first need your root certificate authority. So that's going to be your initial public and private key that are then going to be used to sign all other public private keys. By public key, we mean public certificates from that point forward. So that's always the first thing you're going to do. Who you do that with, it kind of doesn't matter. Obviously, you can provision certificates inside of Vault. You can provision them in anywhere else. That's always going to be the first step. And then the second step is always going to be to generate a public or a private key and a public key for every node that you have in existence. So in our cases here, we have server and then we have 2 clients. So each of those are going to need their own public private key, right? Once you've got those, you're then going to take your CA key and you're going to sign all of those. You're just going to sign all of them and then hand them out to all the nodes and put them in the configuration and point to them in your configuration files given using these settings that we have right here. And that is literally it in a nutshell. Obviously, the splatter of code on the screen makes it look like more, but that's all you're going to do with no matter what CA you use. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well,
so yeah,
I think we're pretty much good on that. We can close early today, at least. So for those who are checking it out, we'll add the links to the description of the stuff we use today. Appreciate all of those who are participating in chat. I'm getting a lot of interesting information, and we have a lot of congrats for people who've either finished projects, wrapped up different projects, or like finished their deployments. So congratulations. We're glad that you're tuning in with us, and we appreciate as you struggle through and build with us. So good luck on, I know some folks mentioned that they have other upcoming projects as well related to Consul and Vault, indoor Vault. So good luck on that. And of course, you can always reach out to us if you need